You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
Hello, 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 and welcome out there in podcast land. You have reached Johnny Has the Keys, a podcast about horror, science fiction, movies, and television. Two guys get together and we talk about the influences of those movies that they've had on the world or influences that influenced that particular film or television show. My name is David. I'm here with my good friend Tim. Hey, Tim.
Hey, David. How's it going out there in the world?
It's going well. We want to welcome all of you. If you are finding us for the first time, thank you. Great to have you here. Hope you enjoy it, and tell all your friends and come back and see us or listen to us again, because we are on YouTube as well as podcasts, so you can use your preference there. If you would rather just hear our melodious voices, that's fine. Or if you want to actually see us, sure, fine, whatever. And if you are a returning patron or guest, thank you for coming back and seeing us again. Tim, what have you been doing out in the world? What's been happening in your genre-related world?
I've got one word for you.
Yeah.
Bava-palooza.
Oh, no, really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. For some reason, I'm going to pull up my list because there's so many of them. Shudder has gone on a giallo and Italian spree, and they have 6 Mario Bava movies and several movies by other directors I've never heard of that I'm curious about. And then Amazon has one as well. So I went to the Amazon one first and watched. This is Mario Bava, for you folks out there that don't know. I'm talking about an Italian director from the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
He did a movie called Blood and Black Lace in 1964, which is on Amazon, and it is supposedly the first giallo movie. You know, we talked about giallo movies when we did Deep Red last season. Dario Argento lifted from Bava. Anyway, that's about a masked killer in the fashion industry. So he's like killing lots of beautiful women, scantily clad. Anyway, then I started getting more into his horror stuff on Shudder. I watched a movie called Kill Baby Kill, which is a hilarious title because it is so inappropriate. It's a supernatural period piece, and yet it's named like an exploitive movie of the 70s.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I also kicked back with Black Sunday and Black Sabbath, which are the ones he's known for most. Or at least in my world, because I think either one of those we could do on the podcast. Yeah. They're not fantastic movies, but they're iconic movies that definitely warrant a place in the genre.
We don't want to do Kill Baby Kill?
I liked Kill Baby Kill, but I think Black Sabbath and Black Sunday are better.
Probably.
But just to let you know, there are 4 more that I have not watched yet that I will probably watch in the meantime. And that is Lisa and the Devil with Telly Savalas. Saw that a long time ago. Haven't seen it in a while. Shock, which he did with his son, Lamberto Bava. Bay of Blood, which I have seen and not for a while, which was the inspiration for Friday the 13th, and a movie called The Whip and the Body from 1963, which has Christopher Lee in it. So I'm curious about all of those.
So wait, help me. Was it Mario Bava or Fulci who did the zombie?
Fulci.
Fulci. That's the one that had the close-up of the maggot zombie face on the cover.
Correct.
I remember that. Okay.
And Fulci is fun for that kind of movie. Bava is a better director. He's like Argento. I mean, he's got the style and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Fulci was more grossed out kind of stuff.
Right. More the schlock director sort of thing.
Yeah, I've been toying around with the idea of doing history of horror and do like little 10-minute video segments where I just talk about somebody like Mario Bava.
Like that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that evolves. So,
Yeah.
what have you been up to?
That would be interesting. I haven't been doing a lot, actually. I feel very bad in my not keeping up with my genre world. Basically, I have, I continue to have my Star Trek fix. And, on one of our Patreon casts, we do, classic Trek. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would look ahead and see if, and just pick a random episode. And I picked Plato's Stepchildren and watched it and went, ooh, yeah, that's it's exactly the way I remembered it. Good, bad, and indifferent sort of thing. But also said, okay, so I'm going to try some different things. So I watched an episode of Enterprise that I had not seen in their 4th season, and it was really good. And it made me upset again that show got canceled when I think it was just starting to develop its legs, so to speak.
And that's the Scott Bakula one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Star Trek, I think, always takes at least, other than classic Trek, which was best the first 2 years, I think, and you, I think, agree. But every other Star Trek series takes like 2 to 3 years to get all the bugs worked out of this new incarnation kind of thing. So Enterprise was definitely like that. Next Generation was like that. Voyager doesn't matter. But I thought I would go to, after the Enterprise one, I thought I would go to Deep Space Nine, a series that I don't like, and was hoping, maybe I would, and watched an episode of like the 5th, 6th season of it, and it wasn't good either. And I was going, okay, I've still never, ever, ever finished Deep Space Nine. I must admit, I've never finished that series.
I've not even finished Next Generation.
Well, you can really stop after season 5, Next Generation.
Because I just really don't care.
And you can really start at season 3, and it's really good. 3 and 4 are really, really strong Star Trek in general. Some really good storytelling and good. That's when Michael Piller was there, and he was like the Gene Coon of Next Generation. He brought all the good stuff to it after about 2 years of development. He came in and went, here's how we should fix all this. He was really good. But yeah, that's basically all I've been doing. I haven't been doing anything really cool or different or great. And, I guess I'll have to have a palooza myself of something, well, maybe I did. I had a Trek palooza, sort of.
I was going to say, I suggest Fargo on Hulu.
You still are saying Fargo? Yep.
I just watched the 4th season finale, and wow. I mean, if he does get to reboot Star Trek, I'll be interested.
We'll see.
I mean, his music choices, and he is uber violent. Uber violent.
It'll be interesting.
The last episodes kind of started with a montage of everyone that had been killed over the season. I was like, wow, there's a lot of dead people. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I think Trek's kind of descended into the realm of television again now, based on what CBS All Access is doing. There's basically, by this time next year, there'll be 4 series on television of Star Trek. So
yeah, I think we touched on this briefly in something we talked about on some podcast. I'm not sure which. Yep. It's the same with Star Wars. I mean, I'm about 3 or 4 episodes into the 2nd season of Mandalorian, and I'm like, this is the best thing they've done since the 70s.
Oh yeah, they need to, I saw an article this week that said fans need to give Jon Favreau and Fellini the keys to the kingdom, and I was going, yes, they do. They need to be the creative geniuses of Star Wars, because they have taken
they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Very similar to those guys that did the Avengers movies and Marvel. I was like, let them do them. They're good.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
And there's a crossover there as well, because the guy that did Thor Ragnarok is also working on Mandalorian, and he's great too.
Oh yeah. He directed
South
2 episodes last year, and he's directing, and his Tiki Watata.
He's like from New Guinea or New Zealand or something.
New Zealand, I think. Yep.
Yeah.
Really good. Great director.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a bunch. That one I keep telling you about that you should watch, I think you would like. Something in the Shadows.
Oh,
what we do in the
shadows or something. Yeah.
He created that series, and he
Okay.
does a bunch of episodes, and they're good. You would like them.
Well, it started off as an indie movie
Yeah.
that had a little bit of buzz, but
Yep.
I've never watched it because it looked like a vampire comedy, and I was like,
It is, but it's basically if you took the vampire mythos and treated it like The Office is, because that's basically what it is. I mean, and parts of it, and it's weird because I like it, although I don't like The Office. It's weird. I don't like that interview style handheld camera work kind of thing for a comedy.
I know what you mean. Yeah, docu-series or whatever,
documentary.
Yeah. I mean, mockumentary. Yeah.
Where all of a sudden it'll cut and they'll look right at the camera and say, I didn't want to do this. And then we go to the joke again, and I'm like, I'm not a big fan of that style. Parks and Rec, Office, all of those. But this one works for me, I guess, because it is vampires, which I do like a lot. And they make fun of all the things about the vampires. One of them is this ancient old Carpathian guy who doesn't understand America at all or how it works and all of that. And so he's got
What is this? What is this?
Yeah, and he's got the accent, and he's going, I don't understand. Why do we do this?
Okay.
And so I think you would like it. There's some funny stuff.
All right, I might check it out.
But we are actually going to be scary this week, right?
I think so.
Okay,
actually, we are entering the spirit world of a little gem that came out from an unknown director, I think, at the time. M. Night Shyamalan, however you say it.
I say Shyamalan Ding Dong, but
yeah,
some people say Shyamalan.
Okay. Anyway, his movie, The Sixth Sense, which debuted in 1999 with Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment and the marvelous Toni Collette, who I have loved before she was even an American movie actress. I used to watch her in Australian films. And it is the story of a child psychologist who is one night visited by a former patient of his that is now grown and has experienced, I guess, a traumatic
episode.
Yeah, life. And he actually shoots his doctor. Cut to a small boy who has problems seeing people that keep coming to him as if they have unfinished business in regards to their death. The Bruce Willis character, what is his name? Malcolm Crowe.
Malcolm Crowe.
He ends up taking on this child as a patient, and we see that his life has not gone so great since the event of being shot by his former patient, and we are working towards a solution for both of these characters, the boy and the psychologist, as far as their odd lives. I guess you would say, the boy sees dead people. You've heard the phrase, we talked about catchphrases earlier, I believe, and that is a big catchphrase from the late 90s. I see dead people. What do you remember about this movie? When was the first time you saw it, David?
I saw this movie either on VHS or DVD. I think DVD. It was 99. I am one of the few that it was not a twist to me.
Okay.
I actually knew that. I didn't know it going into it, but I figured it out really quickly. And I was actually watching it with Barbara and intentionally didn't want to say anything. And I would go, kind of thing. And then something else would happen. I would go, oh, yeah, that's good. And she had no clue. And so the big twist freaked her out. So it was really interesting, me knowing it and then being able to witness somebody who hadn't and being able to see them freak out,
Yeah. I kind of figured it out too, especially in the restaurant scene with the check.
Yeah.
But, and we'll just go ahead and get the elephant in the room out. For those of you who haven't seen it, major spoiler, Bruce Willis is a ghost and is basically coming to Cole because of the same reason these other people are coming to him, because there is some unresolved turbulence as a result of his death, and he needs to acknowledge it, or have Cole help him acknowledge it. I think it's a fabulous movie. I saw it at the theater when it came out, and it was a big summer for movies. It was this first summer, I think I was in DC. It was the first summer. I'd been there for a few months. And other movies at the time were like The Blair Witch Project, which I was not a big fan of. And I can't remember what else. But I just remember this little thing came out. No one was expecting it. And whammo. I don't think they expected it to be as popular as it was.
Yeah, a comparison or a key to me for this was a secondary phase of the blockbuster, like Jaws. This came from nowhere, essentially unknown director, unknown story kind of thing, and ended up being nominated for like 6 Academy Awards or something. I mean, but not only that, it blew everybody away. It was, I think it was the most popular horror movie for like years.
It was very big. I haven't looked at my notes in a few days, and I will. It also put Shyamalan on the map. It actually typecast him somewhat unfairly as a director of twist endings.
Well, I don't know if it typecast him or if he typecast himself. I have issues with M. Night. I like almost all of his movies' premises and ideas. I think he tries to force fit this, I'm the new Rod Serling, I'm going to do the twist ending guy thing into too many of them. I mean, he's had ironically, he's had a kind of a cursed career. You know, he keeps trying to reboot and gets like a little bit of success and then just destroys it with the next movie that sucks so bad that everybody just critics hate it, you know?
And it's gone as far as that I don't see all his movies. There are movies of his out there now that I have not seen. I've heard good things about the Unbreakable trilogy. I liked the Unbreakable film, but I have not seen the subsequent movies. Have you?
Unbreakable, I thought was really good. Split was really good. Now, I have not seen Glass yet, which was the trilogy. You know, and I like the fact that in Split, his gag, his gimmick, his final twist kind of thing that he tries to throw into every movie he's done because now he has to, because that's his moniker kind of thing, was just in the very last scene. And it was suddenly just, we pan down and we see Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable, and you go, what they live in the same universe? And then it was suddenly announced, oh yeah, by the way, this was the sequel. You guys didn't know it because none of the characters are in it, but
which sounds like a publicity stunt that would just go right hand in hand with his career.
Correct. But it worked really well, mostly because James McAvoy was amazing in Split. I think you would like Split. It's very scary. It's very it's the closest, I think, in his entire overall back to Sixth Sense. Okay. Probably. But I really liked The Village too. I thought The Village was good. I thought Signs was okay. It had some issues, but wasn't bad. I've heard that The Visit, a little one-off kind of film that he did, is really good, but I've never seen it.
Me either. So he may be
worth Last Airbender really sucked. The one where the wind is the monster really sucked. So, you know, he's had a hit and miss year. I mean, career, so to speak. But this movie, I mean, again, I feel like a key for him is Orson Welles. I mean, how do you top it? This was your first big thing. Now, where do you go from there?
I was thinking Alfred Hitchcock, but very similar. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hitchcock had hit after hit, but then started fading. You know.
Oh yeah, right. Orson didn't. So you're right. There is a stronger parallel there.
Yeah, where it's just your first movie was so brilliant. Critics and audiences both loved it. It was great. It set precedents. It's not repeatable, really. And where do you go from there? If that's going to be your shtick, what do you do? Because it is an extremely well done movie, I think.
It is, and it was a surprise hit. And you mentioned this earlier. It says that it was the second highest grossing film of 1999, behind Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which was Star Wars. So that was out that year too.
Oh yeah.
And it took in 293 million in the U.S. and 379 million in other markets. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of money for a small film with
I'm
three
sure it
people
did
in it.
very well in Asia, since they have the whole ghost market kind of cornered anyway. I bet it did very
bet it
well in
did too.
Japan, Taiwan, Asia.
Well, it looks the premise is similar to some of those
Oh yeah.
Japanese ghost movies like Ju-on and The
Yep.
Ring.
The Ring, all of
Mhm.
those. I kind of have those in my key list of, I think those were, that same kind of feel to them.
You're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Look at you showing me up in my own genre.
Well,
He pitched the film as a cross between The Exorcist and Ordinary People.
I could see that.
I can
I
too.
think that's a great pitch.
Yeah.
And two good key influences. Very much so. Yeah, I could see that. Even down to, there's a vomit scene in this, just like in Exorcist.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the screenplay sold on the very first day it was put up for sale.
Yeah. It's
I
brilliant.
thought that was, it's a great screenplay. So
I think it's definitely, for those of you who haven't seen it, again, as I always say, why are you listening to us right now? Go watch it, then come back. But I think everybody can appreciate, even people who thought it was, some reviewers said it was hackneyed or it was da-da-da. And I think that's because
they were jealous.
I was just about to say that. I
Yeah.
think that's because they got scammed by it, or they got
Mhm.
jealous of it, because it's so well crafted. The little subtle touches he does, and the cast that he formed. The three of them are just really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know it, you want to go back and watch it again and see all the clues that are in there. If you don't know it, it does have a tremendous Rod Serling great twist at the end where you're going, oh my, what? Oh, I mean, that ring falls and rolls across the floor and you go, oh no,
The sound alone of it just hitting the floor is enough to send me over again and again and again, because I can still watch it knowing the twist and enjoy it. Actually, maybe even more so.
Oh, definitely for me more so, because I'm watching the craft now. I'm watching how he does it, how he picks, how he stages it. It wasn't until my fourth or fifth watch that I realized also that Malcolm's character, the psychiatrist Bruce Willis, doesn't cast a shadow.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought, oh, well, he just did that. That was just a fluke. No, he did it on purpose, because there's that one shot showing them both standing there, and you see Cole's shadow, but you don't see Malcolm's. And I thought, oh, he did that on purpose too? That's really good.
It is really good. And I had a note here, but I can't seem to find it. I'll find it in a second. Oh, here it is. Whenever you hear things too, they're done on purpose. The voice on the tape of Vincent's session, where they're speaking Spanish, the words are, "Please, I don't want to die, Lord, save me, save me." And so unless you speak Spanish, you don't know what that tape is saying. Because
hey, wow,
it's not
just got me reminding me of a key for Exorcist. Remember, he listens to the tape in The Exorcist too. That's how he finds. That's how he's finally convinced that he wants to go to take the case.
Because he hears.
Interesting.
What is that demon's name?
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we move on to casting, are there any, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that stick out to me. What are scenes that stick out to you?
The scare scenes stick out to me. The whole tension feel once, because he sets it up so great in the teaser with this nice romantic scene, and there's a little bit of guilt play there of the the wife who's saying you didn't spend enough time with me, kind of thing, but that becomes very popular, very important later on, but you kind of buy it. But then suddenly they get in that bedroom and it gets cold really fast. And the tension is there, and he pulls that gun and you're going, oh no, this is not good. Lots of tension, very well directed. Love that. I like all of the horror scenes. I like the girl with
In the
the
tent.
vomit, having the big confession, the scene in the tent.
Well, that's the
Girl,
one where she's vomiting, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
first when she first climbs in there and everything, it's just like the way he does jump scares with Haley's so innocent appearance and everything else, like when he finally tells his mom and the woman is right beside her in the window, of the car. That's so scary. All of the doors being open in the kitchen.
That is one of mine. I was going to say it's the way he startles you with something that's not scary, like her leaving the kitchen and coming right back in and all of those cabinet doors being open, like instantly. Very, very much like Poltergeist when Jo Beth Williams leaves and comes back and all the chairs are stacked up. Another one is when he runs, I think it's when he runs to the bathroom and somebody walks by the door, the kid that has the messed up head. I mean, it's just like you don't expect it, and it startles the shit out of you. And a lot of it is music, too.
Yes. The music stings work, too. I think that they're very good. I like the theme. I like the fact that he crafted it in a way that we slowly see Cole's terror and the fact that this is what he's going to live with all of his life.
Yeah, it's sad.
And that makes it makes him so endearing, and that the pathos that you feel toward him and everything works. But then he flips it at the end and you suddenly realize that that's what Willis has been doing, and it's or Malcolm.
And you see the blood on his back.
Oh yeah, when he
you never see anything, really disfigured on his face. Yeah.
No, it's some very well crafted storytelling, I think, to begin with, writing definitely, and then the way he shot it. It's just, it works on so many levels. And then when you watch, like I said, when you watch it again, you realize, oh my God, he's even more clever than I thought, because all these clues were there the whole time.
Right. Red.
Red means dead. I remember that becoming a big thing after the movie had come out, and everybody was, talking about seeing it a second time. But the whole the frost, when the ghosts get angry,
Everyone's cold. It's
cold.
very cold. The temperature drops.
But Bruce doesn't. In the scene where Cole is cold and everything else, Malcolm doesn't. And you're going, oh, that's smart. That was really good. And then I was going to ask you the complexity of writing a scene where to the audience, it's a dialogue between two people, but in reality, they're not hearing each other. Or how do you craft a scene like the scene in the restaurant? How do you stage?
I think he did a good job with it.
And craft that. It must have been very challenging, though, as a writer, to say, I've got to have the credibility of these scenes so that it doesn't seem weird or doesn't give the gag away, but still makes sense. It's not a weird, odd feeling. Like the first time he really meets Cole and everything else, it's that triangle framing where you've got Malcolm and her in the chairs and Cole at the door, and you get the impression, oh, they've been talking forever, and now that Cole's here, she's going to let the guy that's going to work with him, and you just make all these assumptions.
You make
as
the
a viewer.
assumptions,
and then you watch it a second time and go, no, she doesn't see him. He's not there. That's why Cole is scared. It's because she's going, you're with my mom. And
she doesn't see you. Yeah.
It works so good. I'm sorry.
It does. I was also thinking of, you never see him open doors, but you see the scene where he's jealous and following the young man to his house who has been to visit his wife. And I was like, oh, they're going to screw up here, but they just cut away and you just never see it.
Yes.
You never see him go through the door. And then all of a sudden later he's in there, or he's in the basement. You never see him go through the basement door, but he's in the basement looking up stuff at his
But again,
desk
that's
at one
then
point.
cutting, because he tries the knob and it doesn't work. He reaches for his keys and then we cut and he's downstairs. So we make the assumption again that
Right,
he
right.
used the keys to open the door, but he didn't really. He couldn't get through. He just doesn't
Yeah.
remember not getting through.
It's very, very crafty.
I mean, I think other than the doorknob, and doesn't he, when he's mad at her with the guy, doesn't he break glass?
He
Isn't there
does.
something?
He does.
But I think those two, because I remember watching it for this rewatch and everything, going, oh, okay, so that's the penny moment from Ghost. You know, is he can actually, if he's angry or upset enough, he can actually manipulate something.
Wow, that's another good key that I had not thought of.
Yeah, because they scoots it across the floor and then up the door and all that. But it's
I
only
need
if
to
he
be writing these
focuses
down for show
and thinks
notes.
on it that he does it. But other than that, he doesn't manipulate any prop ever. He doesn't tuck Cole in. Even at the restaurant, he doesn't pull the chair out. He just slides in and sits down. You know, and he reaches for the check, but she grabs it first.
Correct.
So
that's what kind of gave it away to me. It's because they don't touch at the same time.
That scene really hit me too. I was going, and he didn't pick up a glass of water. He didn't, he's not nervous, so he doesn't tap something on the table.
Well, and there's other things going on that you don't realize in retrospect. Like, he's an adult man walking around a school with a boy. That's a little suspicious. I mean, if you saw an adult walking around in a school with a boy, wouldn't you be suspicious?
I don't know. I mean, I would probably assume that's his dad or his uncle. No.
Well, that's what I'm saying is schools are, I mean, when we were in school, I mean, anybody could come in or leave. But now it's very, very, what's the word? TSA. I mean, you got to go through like a scanner to get in because of weapons or what have you. Schools are very well protected now. So it does seem odd that a man would be walking around with a child, I thought.
Yeah, could be. I mean, again, it didn't hit me that way. And I don't think it dates the movie in any way because of that.
No, not too badly. No, not at all.
Which was going to be another one of my comments. This movie's held up very well.
Mm-hmm.
In the almost 20 years, over 20 years since it came out.
Yeah, it's over.
And it still is scary, still is chilly, still has great performances. Nothing's really time centric to it.
No, it kind of trying to think. Do we ever see a cell phone in this movie? I don't think we do.
I don't think we do.
Of course. Or one of the bigger ones that they had back then.
Right. But even then, because it's mostly not important. We see his journal. We have to read his journal and his journal taped. We do see a tape recorder, which is maybe dated because most people now would just put it on their phone.
Right. Well, and it's also one of those movies that I preach about all the time that I love. It's small. It's a small story. There's only 3 characters, basically. If you don't include the former patient that shoots him, there's really only 3 people in this movie.
Yeah. There's only, and mostly it's them. It's just the duo. I mean, his wife is in it as well. So there's 4 if you want to consider it. But
and there's also the parents of the girl that was killed by the mother. But they're kind of, secondary characters. I guess
that's a one-off scene, really.
Right.
Sort of 2 scenes, really. So same way you wouldn't really count, the ghosts or the people that you see.
No, not at all. Yeah, the guy's hanging in the school.
Right.
I always remember that scene too.
Yeah. Yeah, but the story itself of a child plagued by this gift that is really a curse until he realizes that now he's going to become the ghost whisperer, which is probably the biggest key from this movie, is so great. And then you layer on a totally other story is taking place on top of this the entire time, which is Malcolm's story, and we think he's trying to make amends for the fact that he had neglected his wife and his marriage is now suffering for it. And he has neglected this former patient who has, ended up shooting him
and himself.
And therefore, and now he's seeing
there's a ghost.
there's a ghost in my house. It's a ghost dog. But now they're seeing a similar he's seeing a similar situation in this new boy and trying to save him. So he's trying to save his marriage and save the kid on top of all this stuff. At least I think that's what we're supposed to interpret from it, until you realize, no, it's just that he's actually dead and hasn't moved on or hasn't accepted it yet.
Yeah.
Do you think Cole would go on the rest of his life? He'll have to do this?
I think so. I think they help that Malcolm helped him get past the scariness of it when he realized what it was they were asking. Now, granted, it would still be scary if someone approached you and his head was caved in and you weren't expecting it. But I mean, Cole seemed to be acclimating to it at the end. Oh, okay, this is my job.
Oh, you just gave me a key. The head caved in is like Pascal, like the guy from Pet Sematary.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah,
there's a lot of keys in this movie.
So I'm curious why don't we have a Sixth Sense series? Yeah, let's turn it into a television series or a sequel. Let's do a sequel.
I mean, you could probably elaborate on it. You would have to be clever with it, though, so that it didn't become boring. I mean, because a lot of what makes this movie are the twist and the surprises. If you know that there's going to be a ghost every week that needs to move on and needs help, it would take some of the surprise.
The Ghost Whisperer.
Is that what it is? I've never watched that. Okay.
Oh, that's her story. She sees people who need to move on, who haven't realized that they need to move on. That's what the whole, 20 seasons of whatever that damn show was.
I did watch The Pet Psychic. She used to talk to animals. Your llama is gay.
No.
Look, he needs a little scarf to go around that long neck.
No.
Sonia Fitzpatrick, David. She was the pet psychic.
No. There is. I do think
we can talk.
I don't know
about
if it's necessarily the twists.
Bit.
I don't necessarily know if what my big redeeming things of this movie are the twists. I think it really is the storytelling and those performances.
Well, it's also beautifully shot. Philadelphia is like another character in the movie because it is such a Philadelphia feel. When I was watching it, and this would be a loose key, but the movie Philadelphia with Tom Hanks as well. And that's Jonathan Demme.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, I mean, he obviously he would not without being the director. That was his stipulations. What gave him this talent? Because he was. I mean, it's a really well-made movie. Do you know? I mean, are you familiar with his pedigree before that?
No. I think he had done 2 smaller indie shorts before this,
and maybe a kids movie or something.
Yeah. But he's just. I think he is gifted in storytelling at this time. He was gifted in what he wanted to do. I mean, you can see it in The Village
negotiation.
Too, although The Village has a little bit of kind of its twist or its final twist is not very believable or very good, but the storytelling is really strong. The color use, his direction, and his casting of what's his name, Opie's daughter, Bryce
Dallas
Howard.
Yeah,
really, really good, and it's sad to get him slung around so much, but I think a lot of that was his own fault, almost, in my opinion. Like I've said, I think if he hadn't buttonholed himself and said, I'm going to be the twist director, instead be a Spielberg and say, I'm just going to tell the stories I want to tell, the way I want to tell them, then I think he would have been more successful, in my opinion.
I mentioned that he was obviously a good negotiator by saying you can't have the script without me directing it. He also wrote the role of Malcolm for Bruce Willis. He had no one else in mind for that part. And that's why I have no one else down as alternate casting for that part.
Was this before or after Looper? This is before.
It
right?
is before. Yeah, Looper was in the 2000s. This was before.
So
Looper
what had Willis
actually, Looper
done?
was in 2012. Looper was a good while after this.
What had Willis done dramatically before this? Had he done Die Hard already?
Yeah, Die Hard was the 80s. This was the 90s. Pulp Fiction was probably early to mid 90s.
Okay.
And when he was starting to get cred back from not just being an action person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, Die Hard kind of put him in that action stratosphere, and he needed to do smaller movies to get his cred back. And he did this. He did 12 Monkeys, which was another good role for him, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
So
and you mentioned Toni Collette. She's amazing in this. She's really good. And I think she's severely underrated as an actress.
I don't know. I mean, she gets a lot of work, so she's not underrated as far as casting. She may be underrated as far as awards. I think she's only been nominated once, and I want to say it was for, what was it? This?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was nominated for this, but she has played parts in movies like The Hours. She was in Hereditary. I mean, she's done the United States of Terror on was it HBO? I can't remember. Where she played split personalities, so she did about 1 million characters. She's just phenomenal. Phenomenal. I saw the other day where they're making a movie about Lucille Ball, and they've cast Cate Blanchett, and I'm like, why did they not cast Toni Collette? I think Toni Collette could do it better.
I would agree. I think that's smart. Yep. Good choice.
We'll see. Back to some casting though. Hallie Joel Osment was not the idea he had for the kid, but nailed the audition.
Oh yeah.
I read somewhere where he said, I don't think I wrote this down. No, but when he was auditioning, he said something to Shyamalan about, I read this script, 6 times last night or whatever. He said, oh, you read your scene 6 times? He said, no, I read the script 6 times last night. Yeah. Like the entire script. And anyway, he nailed it. He was fantastic. He still works. I haven't really seen any of his latter stuff. Have you?
The last time I saw him, he was on the X-Files. He was on the new season.
Oh, right? You're right. He was. I remember that now.
He was the guy in the trailer or whatever who saw the UFO or saw something in the woods or whatever.
You realize you just described
every
someone
character
from every season. Yeah. Someone from every season on the X-Files. Yeah. Lynn Sear, and you notice their name, Sear.
Yes, I did get the Sear thing and the Crowe.
Yeah. Toni Collette, actually Marissa Tomei and Claire Forlani were actresses who declined to play the part. I could see Marissa Tomei. I'm not familiar that much with Claire. Are you? Forlani? I don't know who that is. But it's only because at the time, Toni Collette was not as well known. I mean, she had just done Muriel's Wedding and maybe one other American movie. Muriel's Wedding was an Australian movie. But anyway, she nailed it, and that's no surprise because she is just a fantastic actress. And then I don't have any other casting notes other than the fact that Donnie Wahlberg played the former patient of Malcolm. And I didn't recognize him.
I still don't recognize him. When you show the picture, I go, that's not a Wahlberg.
No.
He has not obviously had a Wahlburger in a while.
Right. Well, it's not Mark. It's Donnie from New Kids or whatever.
Right.
But he lost 43 pounds to do that part. That's commitment.
Well, I could see that. Yeah. If you're told, okay, you're the psychotic and you're only going to appear in one scene in your underwear, make that count, sort of thing. So yeah.
I love the way that film is shot, or that scene is shot too, when he pans
Oh, he just keeps coming in and out of the doorway.
He
Oh, yeah.
shoots himself as the camera's going by.
Right.
It's very
as
Hitchcock.
it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's
that whole
what I have
scene,
for
I also
casting.
like his choice of showing the camera being totally above as Willis falls back on the bed, as Crowe falls back. I like
Mhm.
that too. I thought that was a really good choice. Um, uh, but yeah, so casting, there's nothing I would do different all the way through this, even down to the dad who cries when he watches the videotape. I think his performance is really good.
And the mother's wearing red at a
And the
funeral.
mother's wearing red. Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, if this is a little trivia thing for you, if you watch the movie again, one of the clues is red means dead. If you see red, then a ghost is nearby or about to come in, whether it's a red balloon, a red doorknob, a red door, like the church that Cole first goes into.
And meets Willis in. That's where they usually meet up. Yeah.
A red sweater, a red scarf. Cole's uniform is red, so that takes care of a lot of that because he sees a lot. He's in a lot of those scenes.
You just gave me another key.
Okay, then.
Don't Look Now.
Oh yeah,
with Donald Sutherland and Julia Christie, the Nicholas Rogue movie from the early 70s, where they're looking for her daughter and they keep seeing the red hooded. We think it's a child at the time running through the streets of Venice.
Well, for that one, you can, if we want to use the red as a telegraph, then Schindler's List the same way. The only color in the movie after the opening and closing is the girl in red, the red parka. And that's when Schindler has his conversion, is seeing her body.
Well, before we move to keys, since we seem to keep gravitating there.
Yeah, we do keep pushing those keys. Yeah,
I'm telling you, there's a lot of them. Let me go through the awards because there are a decent amount of those.
Yes.
It was an Oscar nominee for picture, supporting actor with Osment, and supporting actress with Collette, director, screenplay, and editing, but not picture. Oh, no, it was picture. Excuse me, it was picture. My bad. As of 2018, they are the only Oscar performances by Toni Collette and Haley Joel Osment, which just with her, that just blows my mind. It was a Golden Globe nominee for actor, and that was Osment, screenplay. It was a BAFTA nominee for film, screenplay, editing, and directing. And the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror, it was the winner for Best Horror Film and Young Actor, and a nominee for Willis as actor and screenplay.
Wow.
Lots of awards there.
Yeah.
So,
but did it win any?
I don't see any. But remember, it was horror.
Right. And it was up against probably Star Wars or whatever that year, wasn't it?
Horror always gets kind of shunned at the Oscars.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Almost always. I was saying, and it was up against Star Wars or whatever at the time. So.
And it was included in the list that we always reference, 1,000 movies as well.
Good. It should be. Yeah. This is one of your top horror movies. I think so. I think in mood and in jump scare and in execution, it's a really good horror movie. And I think it's also palpable for people who don't really like horror movies. I think this is a good introduction to people of a good horror movie that's not too gory, that's not too scary, that's also not, too crazy. A killer in the woods kind of thing. It's a good horror
Blair
movie.
Witch, which came out the same damn year.
But that's a work of art. Yeah,
it made me sick. I couldn't. That jumping camera shit, I hate it.
I don't know. Parts of it I liked just because it reminded me of us when we used to shoot films. I mean, I love the whole guerrilla feel of, it's just a bunch of us in the woods today. Let's go have fun.
Let's just go make a movie. Yeah. And I honestly, it obviously warrants being on the list for this podcast because of its place in the oeuvre, but I'm not a big fan. So I will trash it if we do, probably.
Well, Now it's got to go on.
A few last minute things. There was a part where when the kid says, "I see dead people," the camera does a close up on Bruce Willis's face.
Mhm.
Frank Marshall was worried that might have been the place where it got given away, because it implied that Malcolm was a dead person. But apparently none of the audiences in the test screenings picked up on it.
No, I think it was the exact
scene
opposite.
they worried.
Yeah, I think it was the opposite. I think instead it was very endearing. It was, to me, Willis's reaction to it is so great because it's like, I realize now what your problem is, what the issue is.
Right.
Now
it's like he
I
reverses it.
Now we've taken a huge step, Cole, that you've admitted to me, and now I realize what this is.
Would you like to lie down and tell me
well, he
about
was
it?
lying down.
Yeah, he was lying down.
With a red sweater. I mean,
Right.
a red blanket.
A red blanket, yeah. And I mentioned earlier that the phrase that the people were saying was, "Please, I don't want to die, Lord," in Spanish. The other one was when he translates the Latin phrase, "De profundus clamo ad te domin." I can't say that. It literally translates to "Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord." And it's something from the book of Psalms, so that was chosen specifically as well. The use of color is apparently not only in this movie, but also The Village. I believe you might have mentioned that.
Yep. The Village,
the color red, that is.
Color red, yep.
Yeah. We can go ahead, I guess, and dive toward keys. If you have any left, we've mentioned a lot so far.
I've got some collation keys back, like Poltergeist you had mentioned because of the opening of the doors, but Poltergeist also uses red. The color red's used in a lot of the scary scenes in Poltergeist. I don't think every one, but I think a lot of them are.
I remember a lot of red in that bathroom when that guy pulled his face off.
Yeah. There was a series that came out in the 70s called The Sixth Sense.
Oh.
Which was Gary Collins, and I think it was Rod Serling. I'm not certain, but I remember watching it when it was on and really liking him because it was like, ESP of the week sort of thing. And that's why I first learned the terms Sixth Sense and ESP were on that series. But basically I think he was a psychiatrist, but he had ESP. He had a sixth sense. He could sense things, whether it was actually seeing something that wasn't there or whether it was getting an impression of something that was going to happen, like a premonition. And every week it was, save the person in trouble each week sort of thing.
I didn't remember it until you said Gary Collins. And then I was like, oh my God, I remember him.
Yeah, the blonde hair that was always perfect, like a wig. Almost.
Wasn't he in Born Free? Or if not, he was in the television version of it.
Probably in the television. He wasn't in the movie, I don't think.
Yeah. Whatever happened to him?
I don't know. I don't know.
He was huge in the 70s. He was like Doug McClure and
John Saxon, all of them were, in the 70s.
Right. Yeah. I've got Hitchcock all the way. That's one of my keys.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. So, but one of my biggest keys that we have not mentioned that I will go ahead and throw out there is The Shining. This movie's got The Shining written all over it, as far as startling appearances by murdered people.
And a little kid who sees things others don't.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I've also got Odd Thomas, which is the series of books and now kind of pseudo movies that Dean Koontz did.
Mm-hmm. I've not seen them, but I know of them.
I watched the first movie. I had read the first two books. I thought they were pretty good. I liked him changing his style a bit. It wasn't, government nefarious chasing me for my special ability and my talking dog sort of story.
I have not read Koontz. I haven't read a Koontz book since Mr. Murder.
Hey, some of his early stuff I really like.
I did too. And then I got to a stage where they were so repetitive I couldn't read them.
Yeah, he just got into this formulaic kind of thing that didn't work for me. But this kind of broke it and was different. And then he did, 5 sequels.
Yeah, he sure
But
did.
basically, it's more, I guess, as a key, it's more like Ghost than this because he sees demons. He sees the demons that actually exist around us that we don't see. So that's kind of, instead of I see dead people, I see demon people.
When did that book come out? That makes me curious.
I don't know, but that'd be
Because it
curious.
sounds to me like he might have lifted the idea and just changed it a bit. But okay.
The first movie is really good the way they do it because the character is trying to have interactions with people, and like all around him are these amorphous, shadowy demons who are like, and nobody else sees them but him, and he's trying to carry on conversations, and because if he lets them know that he can see them, then they'll attack him. So he has to bluff a lot, and it's really a cool concept. It's pretty good. Yeah, I think you might like it. But I thought of it just because, of course, I see something no one else sees around me, sort of thing. Ghost Whisperer, of course, I've got that. And then my only last one is the whole thing about Are You Afraid of the Dark? The whole Nickelodeon series, and the fact that M. Night for a while was. I've heard there's a controversy about it where he has said it helped inspire the story, but then other times he said, no, it didn't. And I'm upset that people think that it did. But basically there was an episode called The Tale of the Dream Girl. And it's about a boy who sees a ghost of a girl and doesn't realize until the very end of the episode that he's a ghost as well. He and her both died in a car accident. And supposedly I've never seen it. I just read about doing research for this, but I've heard it predates Sixth Sense. So
honestly, the concept is, I have a feeling, not new at all. I mean, I wrote a story in '95 where you don't know the protagonist is a ghost. And until the very end, it's the one that Peter Straub published. So, yeah. I mean, the concept has been around. They do it again in the others where you don't know the children are ghosts.
Yeah,
right?
classic. Yep.
So, I mean, I don't hold M. Night to that because the concept, it's a great twist, but there's more than that going for this movie.
Correct. If it was just that, I would say, oh, you're a one-off hack or whatever, but it's not. There's so much more to this.
Right.
Agreed.
I have a couple of others. I mean, actually nothing major. One is Robert Bloch, who wrote Psycho. Robert Bloch was known for writing short stories with twist endings. Sometimes the very last sentence was the twist in his stories. So I felt like, ooh, that's kind of a little bit of a Robert Bloch ending. And then I also wrote that M. Night is a key in himself, as he seems to be pigeonholed in this formula.
Yeah.
So you got a little inner key going on there with the director himself.
Well, so much so that people started saying, oh, this script is too much like Shyamalan. It's an M. Night script. It's an M. Night story, whatever. Yeah.
Is it Shyamalan? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Shyamalan.
Shyamalan. Yeah. I'm sorry. I keep saying Shyamalan.
That's why I say Shyamalan ding dong.
Well, I know, and people used to make fun of him that way. I think I should probably look for phonetics when I do these podcasts, but I never do. Sometimes I don't know how to pronounce these names.
M. Night, please get in touch with us and tell us how to pronounce your last name.
Yes, and I have a book I would like you to read.
No, he'll twist the ending all up. They'll all turn out to be vampires.
Well, actually, there is kind of a twist in the end of my book.
Sort of, yeah. Not that.
And then the only other ones I have are the ones that I've jotted down since we started. The Japanese movies like Ju-On, The Grudge, The Ring. You mentioned Ghost Whisperer, Pet Sematary. I mentioned Don't Look Now. You mentioned Schindler's List and Poltergeist. You mentioned The Sixth Sense, Odd Thomas, and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, and nobody, we can't not do a twist ending show without Rod Serling. I mean, that was kind of his.
That's a good one.
But again, he was.
So Twilight
Zone. Beaumont and all of them, what they did well was they did the twist, but they weren't tied into, I'm going to tell a twist every single script, But even if we're going there, I mean, look at Planet of the Apes. Look at that twist.
Well, that is Rod Serling, though.
Again, yeah, I know, but that's what I meant. There are some really great twist stories out there.
There are, and we've covered some of them on this podcast.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Just like the 1001 list of movies you must see before you die, and
Before you die, yes,
of course. So
1,000
I think
podcasts
that's
you must
all I
listen
have to say about this freaking ghost today.
Me too. And next week we'll do some sci-fi.
Yeah, I think we're going to go back in time a little bit as far as cinema, the 70s,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. 70s. Good 70s, though. Oh, my gosh. Underrated, in my opinion. But anyway, we'll talk about that.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure, David.
You too, as always. Have a great week.
You do the same.
Bye.
Bye.
You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.